Well, for more on this now, we would like to talk with Myung-koo Kang. He's a professor of political science at Baruch College, and he's joining us from the Boston area. Professor, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you for having me.
So denuclearization actually means two different things to Pyongyang and Washington. Washington, right. U.S. officials have said they'd like to see the complete and irreversible dismantling of the North's nuclear program and weapons. For North Korea, Pyongyang would like for us to give up nuclear assets, and it would like to see a comparable gesture from Washington.
Right. As you described, that is two different concepts of denuclearization. From the North Korean perspective, some kind of counteroffer in exchange for denuclearization. And then North Korean case basically prefer staged and then gradual denuclearization process. From here, American side, we prefer immediate denuclearization process. So how these two different concepts about denuclearization will be compromised? That'll be quite critical in terms of making this coming summit meeting will happen. And even after the summit meeting, whether the agreed deal between President Trump and then Kim Jong-un might be sustainable in the future.
So what would a deal actually look like?
I would say that repeatedly President Trump also mentioned the end of the Korean War. So ending the Korean War, as you know, right now, North and South Korea and United States still legally speaking on the ceasefire. So how to change this truce after the end of Korean War into a kind of ending the Korean War first, and then make some peace treaty among these three countries, and ultimately some kind of collective regime, security regime in Northeast Asia, with other cooperation with China and other countries in the region would be quite critical. So the thing is, the first thing would be really important exchange deal would be whether President Trump will agree to ending the Korean War. And another thing can be quite seriously discussed might be the UN sanctions against North Korea, whether the sanction would be gradually relieved in accordance with the North Korean some countermeasures of denuclearization thing.
So we know President Trump. We know his tweets. We know how he can be. He actually blamed Kim Jong-un for tremendous anger and open hostility. What do you think actually brought them back together?
Basically, as you know well, political process going on here in the United States, domestic politics for President Trump is not good. But at the same time, I repeatedly talked about this, but if the final outcome is really uncertain and risky, once the President Trump agreed to have a summit meeting, they set up the dates. If that's the case, if President Trump backs down from the summit meeting, he cannot gain anything at all. And probably he will lose more, his reputation. He repeatedly emphasized that he's a different kind of president compared to past president here in the United States. And from the North Korean side, exactly the same thing. Without any kind of some comprehensive denuclearization deal with the United States, North Korea cannot make a substantial deal with China or South Korea, even relieving the UN sanctions. So from that point of view, making a breakthrough with the United States is quite essential for Kim Jong-un as well. So I think at both sides, they don't want to lose more. They cannot maximize that. They cannot achieve the best scenarios, but they don't want to lose, less. That's the situation.
Professor Myung-koo Kang, thank you so much for joining us from Boston.